Hello everyone and welcome to Snap Take. Today is a special and strange video. We always do on Fridays a tier list, but for the first week of the season, given that we got a ridiculous amount of new cards this week and an OTA, I don't think it's fair to say that we can do a full tier list. So instead, I've got the very best decks to hit Infinite. What I did for this is I took the stats in Infinite and the stats pre-Infinite for 10 decks, and I got us the 10 best decks for us to hit Infinite, and once we're Infinite, to climb in this very topsy-turvy meta. We also had an OTA that we're going to go over quickly. The OTA has come out. The first major change is Infinity Ultron got a fairly large rework. He goes back down to a 5/6, and each of his stones goes to 2 cost. The Power Stone and the Reality Stone both become 1 power. That is the double and the get a drone. Those are the 2 best, so they become sort of bad bodies in and of themselves. That makes sense to me. The Time Stone, put a card from your hand here, is 3, because you have a chance of getting another stone, which could really do nothing, and so on and so forth. That makes, again, fairly good sense. The Space Stone, the easily worse stone, becomes a 2/5, which is just great overall stats. The Soul Stone, for each of your full locations give +2 power, is a 2/3. I think that being the same as the Time Stone is a little weird, because I don't think it's as good as the Time Stone, but I think it's fine. And then the Mind Stone becomes, the double on reveal becomes a 2/2. I think this is ultimately fine. The Mind Stone is the one that I think gets the most worse with this change, because a lot of what that card was doing some sort of like silly shenanigans with Surfer. Now it's only really a good combo with the Infinity Power Stone, unless you build very hyper-specific decks to pull other things off. So I ultimately think that this is a fairly big buff for Infinity Ultron, although when you see bad stones, it's significantly worse than just having the 5/8 body. Sometimes you're still going to get a Soul Stone when you're not going to fill things, and a Space Stone that doesn't do very much. That's not the end of the world. This is a card that's going to be played with Quinjet still, with Luna Snow now, with Jennifer Kale, and so on, as a way to get these stones cheaper, and when they're really, really cheap, we have a lot of power. I think this is fairly likely to be seen in Victoria hand decks, and I think it is pretty good. Is it amazing? Is it broken? I would be very surprised if this was any of those things, but I do think this is a positive update. From there, we go Giganto to a 6/16. Spoiler alert, Giganto is the only card we're going to see that was buffed in this OTA on this tier list. I think Giganto is really, really good as a 16. We've got Omega Red, who becomes a 4/6, and I don't know how to care about that. I care about 1 power as a general rule, but I just don't think... I think Omega Red is far enough behind the curve that I don't really worry about it. And then Supergiant becomes a 4/7, and I think down the line this may end up a problem. Supergiant's a very not fun card to play against. It's very fun to use, but it's not fun card to play against, and I can easily see this becoming too strong in the right metagame. But we're not in that right metagame right now, so I think this is a good buff, taking a fairly unplayed card that really does care about priority and giving it a better way to gain priority. Before we get to the first of our decks, if you'd like a free Merlin, all you do is sub, like, and comment. I'll ask you a comment in this video. The comment is different than it usually is on this style of video. Every Friday we do a tier list, and I usually ask you what's the best deck I missed. I missed plenty of decks this week, because we're looking at specifically the best decks to hit Infinite and climb right now in this very brief moment. And we're going to use a lot of stats to back that up. So we're going to use a different question. If you want to win, all you have to do is sub, like, and then later on this video, leave a comment. All right. We're going to kick it off with what I think right now is the best deck. It's Xernead's Sauron list. We covered this in Wednesday's video. Wednesday, we had 2 videos. Wednesday afternoon, we covered this list. I think that this is probably the best deck in Marvel Snap right now. It puts up a lot of points. It's able to beat Cerebro, even if it does lose to negative, and it does. It can beat basically everything else, and negative isn't prominent enough to really be a concern. This list puts up a crazy amount of points. It's amazing how many times they've nerfed Surtur and Sauron and Scar for this to just end up being, I think, right now, the best once more. You can find Xernead at twitch.tv/Xernead. He doesn't stream much, but he's at a big party this weekend. I hope he's having a good time. But he should be back next week if you want to check him out playing this deck. He's also the only level 30 Sauron mastery I know. This deck has a 61% win rate in 110 games pre-Infinite, a 64% win rate in 420 games in Infinite, and with Maw and for Cult, it's got a 71% win rate in 92 games in pre-Infinite. So I just think that this is really like the best stats. The S tier, our best decks are going to be ones that have stats both pre and post Infinite. It's really hard to know how much pre-Infinite stats are bot inflated at this point, given how Bots are sometimes really good, sometimes bots are terrible, sometimes it's easy to tell bots, sometimes it's not. So it's hard to use those stats exclusively. We are going to for some specific decks here, because, I mean, if we're trying to get from 90 to 100, we're going to use the stats from 90 to 100. 90 to 100 is usually the land of the least bots and the hardest play, so if you've got a really high win rate there, I think that does speak well of the deck, and plus, having a 64% win rate in 420 games in Infinite is absurd. This deck does need Scar, Starbrand, and Surge. Surge as a second Zabu is amazing here. Cull and Ares can be Crossbones or Maw, and Starbrand can be Juggernaut, or, sorry, not Starbrand. That should be, what's the name of that silly card? Surtur can be Juggernaut or Shadow King. All right, let's go through card by card. So Zabu is here. You're running absolute insane amount of fours. You're running 4/4s, so you want Zabu to make some of them threes, both so you can play 1-on-3 when you don't see Surtur or Starbrand, and so you can play them later in the game with extra cards. Surge does that same thing. Sauron obviously makes several of your cards significantly better. The cards that really care about Sauron are Starbrand, Red Skull, and Typhoid Mary. Those three cards being hit by Sauron are just some of the best cards in the game. You can also zero them or enchantress them. Zero is fundamentally your backup one-shot Sauron, and enchantress you're going to try to want, if you don't see the Sauron, or you draw two of those cards, you're going to want to try and leave at least two of those cards, like a Starbrand and a Red Skull, or a Typhoid Mary and a Starbrand in one lane, so that you can enchantress them and then play Scar elsewhere. The other card, if you play Red Skull, that can be taken care of by zero. Surge, we talked about already, just having extra power on things is really useful. Surtur gets reasonably big here. He's not usually useful in terms of buffing Scar, because you play Surtur on 3, then you play a 4/10 on 4, a 5/14 on 5, and now he's a 3/9, so unless there's another way to get that extra 10 power, it's not going to work well with Scar, but it's not going to further discount Scar, but that's still a 3-power Scar, right? So you've got that 3-power Scar, and ideally, if you've got that Zabu or Surge, you've also got a 3-power Typhoid or Cull, whatever, as the case may be, or Ares, and then you can drop both of those, and you play to 3/13, and you're playing it for that instead of it benefits from Scar instead of benefiting Scar. Starbrand is obviously the only 3/10 in the game, the like base 3/10, so you just run that because it fits for Scar and everything else. You don't really want his negative ability, but if you need to take it, it's not always the end of the world. You can choose to throw a lane, which makes him fundamentally a 3/7, and then you're still kind of fine. Ares is usually a 4/12, and that's Magneto stats for 4 cost, so you like that. Sometimes he's going to miss, that's such as life. Enchantress is a requirement, not only because we have the Typhoid Mary, Red Skull, and Starbrand here, but also because there's a lot of ongoing in the meta. People do things like drop Cerebro, they drop their Victoria hands, and you just take care of that, winning extra cubes. You run 3/1s, so Cull Obsidian's really solid here. It's not affected by Sauron, but if you've played Sauron, it can go into Sauron lane. Same thing for Zabu and Zero. When you do play Zero with another card, try and make sure, like Zero with Typhoid, Starbrand, or Scar, make sure that goes in a different location than Zero. So if you want to play Cull in that Zero lane, you can. Typhoid's yet another 4/10, Red Skull's a 5/14. Red Skull has an extra use because Cerebro is an extremely prominent and popular deck in the metagame. As such, Red Skull's purpose here is you don't want to Sauron or Zero it against Cerebro. You want to just play it against the lane where Cerebro has its regular cards, and at that point, if they can't get rid of that Red Skull, then their whole Cerebro thing is messed up, and you win the game. And of course, Scar is generally speaking a 3/12. You can get it to, if you play Starbrand into 4/10 into Red Skull, or into 4/10 to 4/10, you've got a 1/12 to play on the last turn. You want to do your best to play him with Enchantress, if possible, but sometimes you're just going to drop him with yet more big bodies. So this is, right now, the class of the meta, I think. I wish it wasn't, but I think it is. I think if you just want to win, and you don't care about playing something boring, do this. Turn 1 Sauron, pending what's in your hand. If like all your good Sauron hits are still in the deck, then you can snap on that Sauron, or you can play Zabu. Sometimes you're going to have all the Sauron hits in hand, or 2 of the 3 Sauron hits in hand, and you're going to play Zabu first, because you got some 4s in deck. Turn 2 Surge equals Sauron, again, same logic as before, is better than Zabu. 0 is fine if Starbrand is your next play. If you know for sure you're going to be playing Starbrand on 3, you can just drop 0 here. Turn 3, you want a 4 or a 0 Starbrand over Surtur. Turn 4, you got Ares, which is more or less equal to Cull, which is better than Typhoid Mary. Turn 5, you can go Red Skull or 4. This is a good turn to play a 0 and like Typhoid Mary together. It works perfectly well. You can also just Enchantress if you've got a really good target and you know you're not going to be able to last turn. You end the game with Scar and another big, or Scar and Enchantress, and as soon as you realize that that can be your end game, assuming that you think you can play around Shang-Chi, you should be snapping. Shang-Chi is annoying for this deck, but this deck puts up so much power, it doesn't really care. Shang-Chi can only hit one lane most of the time, and this list is, right now, the best thing to be doing in Marvel Snap. Before we go any further, please hit that sub, like, and comment as we do our very best to bring you the very best Marvel Snap content. We do 7 days a week of videos. We do 2 days, 2 videos a day, several times a week. You cover Marvel Snap, give you the most decks, the most exclusive decks, the kind of information you can't get anywhere else. So please hit that sub, like, and comment. It would really, really help out the channel. If you would like to hear the ordeal, well, I'll save that for later. Let's instead go to Cerebro 2, the other real meta deck that is not as prominent as I think it should be, given its stats and that they finally made Cerebro good, but Cerebro is really, really good. This is the winningest version of the list. There are versions that are very successful that cut Ravonna and Blue Marvel largely. Some cut Nightcrawler, so feel free to mix and match as you want with those 3 spots. Outside of that, I think the list is relatively settled. This one has a 65% win rate in 98 games per infinite, and a 73% win rate in 56 games post. This deck needs Lasher and Nico are in all the best versions of it. You can replace them, but like every version that's really successful runs Lasher and Nico, and Ravonna can be Goose. Alright, so Nico's uses here. Copying a Cerebro, copying a Lasher are both incredibly useful. You're not against copying like a Shadow King or a Storm or even a Luke, depending on what you think might be happening. Her giving 2 power is really, really great. You want to be careful with it, obviously. But sometimes you can give 2 power to Cerebro, which means Cerebro is going to buff himself, which is incredibly useful. Having an extra location change outside of Storm is extremely useful. You never want to play, or almost never want to play, outside of situations I can't even imagine, the 1/4 version of Nico, so you're not going to want to double her power, but everything else here is pretty damn good as long as you know how to use it. Nightcrawler's removable power, and it's a deck that runs Storm, so you just run that. Lasher, when hit with a Cerebro, is a 210. When hit with a Cerebro and Mystique, is a 216. We love to see it. You can get an extra power on that out of Blue Marvel, extra 2 power to that out of Blue Marvel too. Sinister plays as a 210/216. We could love to see it. Same thing. Brood is the same thing, except add an extra 5 to 8. Cool. Sorry, add an extra 3 to 8, and then you'll be totally fine. Add an extra 3 to 6, and then you'll be totally fine. Ravonna only has 2 targets, but they're pretty damn important. It's Cerebro and Mystique. You get Ravonna down, and you can play Cerebro, Mystique, Shadow King at the end of the game, which is absurdly strong. Shadow King prevents things from going over the top of you. You can't run Shang, so you have Shadow King. Cerebro and Mystique are obviously your big power buffs. Cerebro at +3 is one of the best cards in the game. I think it's an S tier card. Brews a ton of power. Luke Cage protects you from negative power locations. There's the -1, -2, -3 locations, -1 after every turn location, etc., etc. Luke handles that stuff. Storm lets you win a lane on the cheap while also helping you handle bad locations, and of course Blue Marvel is your extra buff, but be wary of Blue Marvel. If you play Blue Marvel into an Enchantress and they Enchantress your Blue Marvel, your Blue Marvel now has the highest power, and because he doesn't buff himself, right, so everything else will go back down to 2, he'll be a 3, he'll get all the Cerebro buffs, and then you lose the game. So only play Blue Marvel if you're entirely sure they don't have Enchantress, or they've used it already. So this is down in popularity right now, but not in success. It's one of the more successful lists. Turn 1 Nightcrawler to 2 Ravonna over Lasher over Sinister. Turn 3 Storm, which can be a snap if you think you can easily win that lane, or i.e. if you already have Cerebro, or if you're getting rid of a really bad location. Over Luke, over 2. I like to try and hold Luke in case of Enchantress, but Luke's still pretty solid. Turn 4 is a 2/2. Lasher and Sinister, generally speaking. If you need to drop a Luke, don't feel bad. Turn 5 Brood into, or Blarvel, Luke into, as the case may be, whatever the 3 you need, and 2, plus whatever extra 2 you have. Turn 6, Cerebro Mystique. You can do those with Shadow King, with Ravonna. You can play Cerebro, Brood, Sinister, or Shadow King, or just Cerebro and Mystique, as the case may be, depending on the situation. Just count, and you'll be fine. Don't forget to trigger Lasher on that turn, because Lasher is freaking humongous. What makes this deck really, really sing, outside of Cerebro and Mystique being so freaking much power, is that Lasher, Mr. Sinister, and Brood play for so much extra power. They play for so much power on top of what you would expect, and we even have room for an extra bit of control with Shadow King, with Storm, with Nico. So, beautiful, super powerful list. Give it some run if you haven't. I think it's boring. I'm a little sick of Cerebro already, but hey, if you enjoy it, this is a very, very budget list. It's running very few high series cards, and those high series cards it does run are... it's 2 Series 4, 1 Series 5, so it's really easy to get into this list. Before we go further, I stream all the time at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. This week has been utterly insane for some personal reasons that if you watch my stream, you know that I'm not going to get into here. But I should be streaming, I'm hoping for today around 3 p.m. I should be streaming today fundamentally either way, so come stop by, hang out, and we will play some Marvel Snap. I am rank 98. We'll talk about the deck I climbed through the 90s with later this video, because I was going to record, right? I got all ready to record, and then I was like, let me clear out my dailies, because oh my god, I forgot my dailies. Today has been so hectic, and I immediately climbed from 93 to 99, just like losing no more than a cube at a time, and then I got to 99.3, and then I lost down to 98.2, and I was like, that seems like it's probably a good enough time to go record before it gets crazy late, because it is getting crazy late. I had an ordeal with my mic today. It's going to be under questions of the day. We're going to go over the sordid history of mics and snap judgments. Next up, we have Merlin's Havoc list. There are two versions of this. They are one card different. I think the list is fundamentally settled at this point. This remains one of the best decks in the game. If you want to climb and you have discipline, this list is an absolute beast. You have to snap fairly aggressively and retreat fairly aggressively, but if those two things are true, you win a ton. Derek made the original version of this. I don't know who to credit for the most updated versions. I know I personally was the person who cut Kitty and added Merlin from this version, but then someone else cut Surge and kept Kitty and had a lot of success. So this one has a 70% win rate in 40 games pre-infinite and a 64% win rate in 52 post. That post-infinite one has Kitty and no Surge. I have a 60% win rate on my way to the 90s with this list. This list needs Nico, Athena, Agent Venom, and Cassandra Nova. Unfortunately, the needs list is getting bigger as I understand the list more. Sage can be Juggernaut or Wolfsbane. Red Guardian can be Rogue, Luke, or Mobius. Surge and Merlin can be US Agent, Sam, and Kitty. I've talked about this list so many times. The Hood advice has changed. It used to be you would never play the Hood and just get the -3. Merlin means you can, because you can turn that -3 into +2 energy or a 2-cost card. So the Hood advice is still largely true, but be careful that you have Merlin if you're going to do that. Bast can make Hood +6 power. It buffs every single card in the deck, or is neutral for every single card in the deck, except Agent Venom, so it's a really great card. The key targets here are Cassandra, Nova, Havoc, and Sage. Turning those into absolutely giant lane winners is pretty damn good. Nico has several uses. Turning Hood and Bast into a demon or using them to draw cards is obviously incredible, but you can also copy two particular cards, Cassandra Nova and Sage, both of which are snap conditions. Havoc is huge. He's a 8 to 15 power card, depending on how early you play him and what you hit with him. You never play him before turn 4, but you will play him on turn 4 or 5. You just have to take practice and learn when you want to play him on 4. Athena here. Oh, sorry. Havoc on 4 is a good argument for Kitty over Surge, just if you're wondering. Athena is amazing with Merlin because you always have that extra 1-drop so you can get the extra energy. Don't feel like you have to trigger her, but when you do trigger her, you're going to feel really good. She's often getting to shonkable ranges, but usually after Shonk can be played because her end of turn trigger. Surge here just makes things cheaper. +1 power is really nice. It helps you get your Athena trigger when you couldn't. It also helps that if you Havoc on turn 5, you can still play 2 3s on the last turn if you got hit by Surge. Merlin gives you spells that are incredible. Most of the spells are really good for Bast and Hood, but being able to change locations is pretty good. And honestly, just having access to a 2-5 or a 2-7 because Merlin buffs himself with that one spell is pretty good. Agent Venom does the same thing as Bast with better stats. Cassandra Nova is rocks. Double Cassandra Nova is one of the strongest things in the game. Nico gives you access to that play. Single Cassandra Nova plays as a 3-6 that often plays as a 3-8 or 3-9 as opponents play negative cards. Just really good. I tend to play it usually more often when it's Bastet or Agent Venom than if it's not, and I prefer to play it on turn 4 so that I can play it and an extra 1-drop. Sage is your big closer, but also, again, a really good card to copy, a really good card to buff by 3. Cosmo, if you're not... Okay, so my basic strategy for Cosmo is, if I think a lane is going to be close, and I have Prio, and I feel like I've got, one scaler there, but I do think they're going to compete, I like to Cosmo that lane, because most of the ways that people try to win those lanes are like these big... sometimes it's a big ongoing, and you're just sad, right? But, you had Prio, there's nothing you can do, you lose those cubes. But a lot of the times, it's like their own Sage or Juggernaut or whatever, and Cosmo can ruin that day. Then finally we have Red Guardian, who's just your catch-all answer card. So we did the Bast and Hood note earlier. Remember that Bast, you usually don't want to hit Agent Venom. You can play it earlier than you could thanks to the presence of Merlin. But hey, make sure you have Merlin and Hood. Turn 2 Agent Venom is better than Surge, which is more or less equal to Merlin, which is better than the 1s, which is better than Athena. Turn 3, you want Thena and a 1 or Cassandra. Turn 4, Cassandra and a 1 or 2+2, and sometimes you're going to Havoc on 4. Turn 5 is usually when I'm snapping. We're looking Sage, Cosmo Red Guardian, and Havoc or a 1. Then turn 6 is the same basic concept as turn 5. You play whichever you didn't play the previous turn. This is one of my favorite lists in the game, in the history of the game. It's a genuinely fantastic list. Give it some run if you haven't. Give it some practice to learn if you haven't. It's one of the best ways to hit Infinite. It's a very smooth sailing. This deck just bullies people. It doesn't look like it has points, and then it just puts up crazy points. If you are interested, over on our Discord, we host regular tournaments several times a week. They're called King of the Hill tournaments, just 2-3 hour fast tournaments. So if you're interested, again, Snapchat's League Discord is linked in the description to this video. From here, we're going to Thanos Control. Yup, it's not dead. It's the last of our S-tier decks, I believe. Thanos Control is the last thing that's doing really well in pre- and post-infinite, and this is the build that has sort of taken over. I am genuinely surprised Merlin is here and would guess Merlin is wrong, but hey, the stats are the stats. This one has a 67% win rate in 49 games pre-infinite, and then a 64% win rate in 100 games post. This deck does need Thanos, Strange, and Wiccan, as do all Control Thanos lists. Surge and Merlin can be Sam Wilson or Iron Patriot. Those I don't think are huge losses, but they are losses. Red Guardian can be Rogue. You're ultimately fine there. You can also try Mobius. Copycat can be Mobius or Gladiator. I tend to like to play a Power 3 speed in that Copycat spot. Goliath can be Magneto. That's silly. It can be Magneto. You can also run, I know some people are running Mercury and Cannonball packages in this, where they're just like one of the two spots becomes Mercury and the last spot becomes Cannonball, but it's usually just Enchantress. And then Mockingbird can be Sasquatch. That is the biggest loss. You like borderline need Mockingbird. Alright, so Strange Supreme gets big and wins you lanes. Cool. You can protect him with Cosmo. Shadow King says your opponent can't outgrow you. You have a bunch of control cards. So your control cards here are Shadow King, Shang-Chi, and Goliath, and Red Guardian. Their job, and Cosmo. Their job is to mess up what your opponent's doing. Cosmo has the added benefit of protecting your stuff. Goliath has the added benefit of protecting your stuff from Shang, Enchantress, etc. Surge lets you play stuff for cheap. Getting stones for cheap lets you cycle them more easily, although that's a little more dangerous now that one more doesn't draw. Merlin gives you extra cards, which gives you extra things to do and helps you fill your curve, in particular for Wiccan. Again, really useful now here because times don't lost the draw. Merlin makes sense. Also, shuffling a stone into the deck to get +2 extra energy next turn is really good for this type of list. Cosmo protects Strange and Thanos while also just being a really good way to mess with opponents. Regarding control, Copycat gives you an unknown way to get cube equity. Your opponent cannot know what what Copycat is, or indeed if you even have it, and thus you get extra cubes when you play it as a powerful card. Shang-Chi, power must be controlled. Wiccan, extra energy is great. You're trying to play a bunch of control cards. Goliath is, you play tons of power, so it's a really great control card here. Mockingbird, if you don't see Strange Supreme, is stupidly cheap, but if you do see Strange Supreme, you can usually get it down to a 3 or 4 9, and that's plenty good. And then, of course, Thanos gives you the stones, while also being occasionally a 5/12 that can't be destroyed and can't be played anywhere. Ooh, I don't know what that was. I got weird chills. Excuse me. Got real cold in here. Got the AC pumping. All right, so this deck does not set the meta, but I will say I expect this to be the most prominent and dominant thing, a version of this in the Golden Gauntlet 2 coming this weekend. Turn 1, we draw. Turn 2, Strange over Surge over Merlin, which is more or less equal to draw. Turn 3, 2+1, Copycat Cosmo Red Guardian, and you Mockingbird whenever she fits. Turn 4, Wiccan over earlier plays. Turn 5, you want Thanos or some control cards, and then turn 6, you're leaning toward Goliath or Thanos. I'm very, very bored of this list, but I don't think they actually killed it. I think people just don't like playing things when they're weaker than they were. I think the meta, however, is weaker than it was, and if people aren't going to play Cerebro, this can compete with anything but Cerebro right now. The A tier. The A tier is fundamentally the decks that have a larger sample but are doing good in either pre or post infinite. And my favorite list, the list I thought I was going to infinite with until I started rocking with something else, is the Toxic Soul Thursday. Please note Giganto is a 16 power card here. The most winning version of this list right now does not run Giganto, it runs Emperor Hulkling. The caveat to that I'm going to give you is that Giganto didn't have 16 power. Plus 4 power is a lot. That's like saying instead of running Cull Obsidian, you're getting Enchantress's power. It is a lot. Giganto at 16 power is a huge buff to this list, as was the Red Wing to 5 power, to be perfectly honest. I love this list very much. Toxic Soul King created this version of the list, but the originator of this archetype was Thursday Snap, who you can find on Blue Sky. This one has a 68% win rate right now in 100 games in Infinite, which is insane, with Hulkling in the Giganto spot, but once more, that's pre-Giganto buff. This deck does need Madam Web and Red Wing. Aranya can be Iron Fist. Red Hulk can be Magneto, or Emperor Hulkling. Zorn and Surge can be Craven or Cloak, and Makari can be Wasp. So, you have several move cards. You have Aranya, Ghost Spider, Madam Web, and Zorn as your move packages. Your job with them is to make sure you can move Red Wing once at a time when you have a 60 to 100% chance to get one of your 6s out. The others want to be used to make yourself a big Vulture. Vulture can be infinite sized in this list fairly easily. Surge gives you an extra bit of energy, an extra bit of power. Sometimes the curve gets a little awkward here. It's really, really nice when it hits Red Hulk or Giganto, and you can just drop one of them on turn 5 if your hand gets a little awkward. We talked about Vulture already. Makari hops into play for free, and she's 3 power now, not 4, but she does hop into play for free, and thus she keeps your hand emptier for your Dracula and Red Wing. Red Wing and Dracula are your dump cards. They let you play this weird deck and get powerful cards on the cheap. And then Red Hulk, Giganto, and Infinite are just huge power. They're the big cards that usually the smallest of them is Red Hulk at around 13, right? So these cards allow you to win the game by just saying, okay, suddenly there's just a monster in this lane, and it's hard to stop. I don't know why this says the most consistent Elixir deck. That's not a thing. Turn 1, Aranya. Turn 2, Madam Web if Vulture over Surge over Zorn. We are going to see an Elixir deck later, by the way. Turn 3, Vulture if move. Red Wing to set up a move if you can play the odds if you can hit like a 2 out of 3. Turn 4, Dracula is better than 3, plus Ghost Rider. Turn 5, we want Zorn and Red Wing, or we can drop cards on Madam Web. Sometimes we're going to play a 6 for 5. Turn 6, we either play a 6 or move Red Wing and do our best to empty our hand for Dracula. Bada bing, bada boom, this deck prints cubes. I don't know what to say. It's again, you're going to have occasional awkward draws, but when you don't, you just put up as much power as damn near anything. It doesn't have any control, doesn't have a lot of cute stuff to it, but it wins games of Marvel Snap, so I think you should play it. We have a Patreon that I only advertise once a week on this video. It's patreon.com/snapjudgments. If you're interested in supporting the channel, it would mean an absolute ton to us. Our $2 tier gives you access to every tournament we do and says thank you to the channel. Our $5 tier gets you early access to all of our videos, and our $10 tier gets you thanks on every video and an exclusive video about once a week. So if you're interested in any of those, please check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. It would mean an awful lot if you were willing to. Alright, speaking of decks we've talked about for months, this deck has been the same, I believe, since Toxin came out. I think Toxin came out after Madam Web. So since Toxin came out, this has been the exact same deck, with one card changed. That card is Sage. Sage is right for the deck, but whatever. Sizer created this a million years ago and was number 1 on the Infinite Leaderboard a million times. It's one of the best decks in the game. You can find Sizer at twitch.tv/Sizer2654. This one has a 59% win rate in 270 games all the way to on the way to Infinite. It's the biggest sample size we have of just a deck kicking butt. This deck needs Aranya and Madam Web. Sage can be Hulkbuster or Topaz, and Frigga or Aranya can also be Topaz. Topaz is a really important replacement here. Okay. So, our goals here. Got Aranya, Iron Fist, Ghost Spider, Madam Web, and Doctor Strange. 2 move, Human Torch, Dagger, and Vulture. Human Torch and Vulture get very big very quickly. Dagger does, depending what your opponent plays. So you get them big, and then your goal is to not get them Shang-Chi'd. In order to not get them Shang-Chi'd, you use Toxin and Beast, because if they're not on the board, they can't be Shang-Chi'd. You throw Prio, you play them as huge things at the end of the game, and you win. That leaves 2 extra cards. Frigga is here because you don't always see 2 of your move cards, and once you've moved your card, you can copy it with a big buff. So if you go Aranya into Iron Fist into, you played Madam Web, right? And then you go Aranya into Iron Fist into Human Torch, and you land in Madam Web. Next turn, you move that Human Torch, and you play Frigga. And then you beast that Human Torch, and now you've got 2 stupidly gigantic Human Torches. That kind of thing is what this list does. And finally, Sage. Sage is just a nice big extra card. It's a decent extra Frigga target, it's a decent extra bounce target, so why not run it? So turn 1, Aranya. Turn 2, Madam Web over a second move and Torch, or Fist for Vulture. Turn 3, Vulture, punch with Fist, or you can drop a card on Madam Web. Frigga is fine on a move Torch. Turn 4, Frigga, Sage, or Bounce. Turn 5 is the same as 4, and you need to figure out if you think your opponent has Shang or Killmonger, as the case may be. If you don't think they do, you don't have to bounce your big cards. You can instead bounce your enablers, and if you're bouncing your enablers, your Ghost Spiders, your Iron Fists, you can then build yourself a second big card even on the last turn of the game. Remember to throw Prio if you expect tech. Turn 6, replay your movers, win the damn game. This list is still potentially the best in the game. Depends how much people play Mercury, but it is the hardest list to play of anything ever in the history of Marvel Snap, so please do keep that in mind before you pick this one up. Our season pass question is, how's your season gone so far? What's your rank? I said earlier, I'm ranking 98 right now. I climbed to 99.2 and then fell to 98.2. I'll finish my climb soon. I have, since my stream Tuesday, been very rarely playing Marvel Snap at all. Been busy. This week has been busy. Alright, so Series 3 Merlin Big Hand, we mentioned this yesterday in the video. This is Den's deck. Den created this list pre-Merlin's release, but the stats on this are absolutely through the roof. Like, genuinely stellar stats. I think that this one has a real argument for S tier, except I can't figure out how this deck is good. MarvelSnapZone.com is where you can find Den. He's the lead writer there. This one has a 60% win rate and 190 games from 90 to 100. That's a lot. This deck needs Merlin and is otherwise all Series 3. Alright, so Maria Hill generates cards, Mirage generates cards, Merlin generates cards, Agent Coulson and Nick Fury generate cards. Those generated cards are kind of the point of the list. Quinjet and Sera makes them cheaper. They allow you a huge Devil Dino, and they grow your collector to an absurd degree. Outside of that, since you're running Sera anyway, you have access to Shang-Chi and Enchantress, because why the hell would you not, especially with Cerebro. Ta-da! That's the list. There's nothing really else to it. It's very, I need to play this. I'm going to find time to play this. I promise. But, like, this list is so strange. Alright, so turn 1, Zabu over Quinjet over Maria Hill. Turn 2, Merlin over Collector over a 1 over Mirage. Turn 3, Coulson or Fury, but I would still play Collector over even then, especially if I played Merlin on 2. If you know you're going to Coulson Fury, I would Collector on 2. So turn 4, you want to go 2+2, or you can Fury, or you can play some of your other generated stuff. Turn 5, Sera, who is your real snap condition here. You can also play Dino or a Fury card with Quinjet. Then turn 6, go off. Generally speaking, you would like to play either a 6-drop from Nick Fury, but also reasonable is a 3 or 4 from Coulson, plus a Shang or Enchantress, assuming Zabu and Quinjet are played, or Sera is played. I write articles most of the time on Marvel Snap Zone. If you're interested in checking them out, please do so. I've been absent most of this week. I've said 15 times that this week has been wild, but hey, I'm going to announce what the wild is around the end of June, just so you know, because this month is going to be completely crazy for me. But if you're interested in checking out my writing, please do check it out on Marvel Snap Zone. It would mean a lot and really, really help supports us. All right, the B tier. The B tier is stuff that had a really, really great win rate, but it was a smaller sample. So we have the Kochia Master Bullseye, which we could easily move up to A. That's why it's the top of the B tier, because we know what this deck does. What this deck's really good at right now is there's not a lot of counters in the meta. People aren't running Mobius. People aren't running like the extra negative stuff that goes over the top, the extra ongoing stuff that goes over the top. So you do have a lot of power here. Red Guardian is still annoying, and you still have important draws, but this deck has done really well. Alex Kochia is awesome. You can find Alex at twitch.tv/Alexander Kochia. What an amazing human being that one is. 65% win rate in 82 games. Pre-infinite is this. Bullseye, Scorn, and Dakin are your required cards. Grandmaster can be Gambit. That is worse, but acceptable. And Meek can be Prodigy or Khonshu. All right, you have two completely alternate game plans here. Game plan 1 is you get out Meek, Collector, and Morbius, 2 of the 3 at the very least, in different lanes, so Meek can handle that himself. And then you get at least 1 discard on Swarm. Then you play Bullseye. Last turn you Modok and then trigger Bullseye, sometimes with Blade as well. And you've discarded 10,000 Swarms, giving the entire opponent board -2, and watching your Collector and Morbius go burr with their numbers going, and Meek with their numbers going completely crazy. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. That is the first thing that that is our first plan. Our other plan is we want to get Dakin Frigid, and then we can either Grandmaster and play second Dakin, or play Bullseye and Grandmaster that Dakin. So now we have 2 shards in hand, and either 2 Dakins in play, or a Dakin and a Bullseye with an extra Dakin in hand. If we have 2 Dakins in play and 3 shards in hand, last turn we Modok. The Dakins become 32 power. We win the game with 2 32 power lanes. The other option is if you had a 1 Dakin in play, usually in the middle by now, with Bullseye, you then last turn play that last Dakin, and then you trigger Bullseye. You have 2 32 power lanes. That usually wins the game. Cool. I'm not going to read you the turn by turn because I told you the two strategies here. If you need it, you can figure it out. This deck is old and great, and Alex Kochia cooked like a beast for this. This list, every time that the meta stops countering it, is always going to show up on this tier list as around this level because it is around this level when it's not being countered. Great, great list. Very happy that it exists in the meta, which is quite far from where it was when it first came out. Hey, if you're interested, check out the Crystal Bee on Instagram. If you have Instagram, my wife's Instagram channel, she has handcrafted jewelry. So if you're looking for something nice for one of your friends, for one of your family members, etc., something, and you'd like some handcrafted jewelry, please do go check out the Crystal Bee 21 on Instagram. Some of our viewers have bought from it before, and it means the world to us. So if you're willing to, please, please do so. Next up, we've got Honifer's Aga Annie. This one's got great stats. It's so janky, but it really does work. I did try this one. Very fun list, lots of power. Werewolf and Annihilus are such a cool combo together. If you didn't play back when they were the scourge of meta, and you can get into them now, it is absolutely worth it now that especially Werewolf. I don't think Annie's Series 4, but Werewolf is at least Series 4. Honifer created this list. He's a former top 10 player. He was number 2. He's often around the top 10, even if he's not always in it. This one has a 64% win rate and 81 games per infinite. This deck needs Werewolf, Annihilus, and Merlin. Sam, Kate, and Surge can be any good one on reveal. Nico, Ham, Iceman, and then, of course, Spider-Man is really solid in this list as well because of Sentry. You can use that to clear a space in the Sentry lane to Viper over the Void. So Yellow Jacket is an on-reveal that moves Werewolf, but its real best use is to hit either Rocks or Sam's Shield so that they'll be sent over by Annihilus, helping to clog the opponent. Hood is sent over by Annihilus as well, or it can be transformed by Merlin, and the extra benefit of Hood is you get Demons, and Demons are some of the best cards in the game. Sam Wilson is literally here just as an extra good card for that Yellow Jacket combo. Not amazing here, eminently replaceable. Shadow King is incredible. It wins games right now. A lot of decks are doing the green power thing. Surge makes your stuff cheaper. Getting stuff cheaper is good. That's fundamentally the logic here. You're fine playing most things in most orders. Also, making Agamotto spells cheaper is good. Hawkeye gives you some extra on reveals and helps you clog the opponent with the acid arrow. Merlin helps you deal with running the Hood, and the spells work amazingly with Werewolf because all of his spells move the Werewolf, but then that spell disappears, leaving you space in that lane. Viper is here largely for Hood and Void, but hey, it's great. It sets it on reveal again. Its on reveal will happen, making space in the lane for Werewolf. Sentry for plays for a 4/18. It's really, really great. One of the best cards around. It is like the key card to this list. Doing things with Sentry using a lot of cards is amazing. Using the Merlin spell that turns it into a 5-drop is incredibly strong as often. Annihilus is great. It sends over the stuff that Yellow Jacket hits the Hood and the Void, while also just having good power now. And then Agamotto helps you clog the opponent with the... this is like the rare deck, where one of the most important spells is, in fact, going to end up being Winds of Watum. Usually that's like just a really annoying but like not pivotal spell. Usually it's Bolts of Balthak, which is still great here, and Images of Icon, which is fine. It's an extra way to get rid of Void, but it is outside of that not that great. So turn 1 Hood, Yellow Jacket again is not going to be played until Werewolf, or you can use it to send something over. Turn 2 is Merlin or Sage over Sam, which is Merlin's equal to Kate. Turn 3 is Werewolf, and if you can Werewolf and you see the locations and you have the stuff, snap. Turn 4 is Sentry, and this should also be green. If you can see that you have the Annie Viper or the Merlin stuff and you can figure out how to do it, you should snap over a 2/2. Turn 5, Annie Viper of Sentry, or you can still Sentry here. Turn 6, Annie Viper, or you can combo stuff, Demon, Shadow King, and whatever else you got. And then you should be able to win because this Werewolf is like 17 power, and then they have -8 on their side of the -9 on their side of the board. All these things work together pretty damn well. Please check out the stream team. Some of our friends stream our decks for us. Tonight it will be the Pirate King Tucker. It's Friday, so the Pirate King this night will be streaming a bunch of these decks. Please do go check it out. Show some love to our friend Tucker. Next up, we got Fudge V2. This is the list I climbed to 99 with without like losing any games. I haven't looked up my stats yet. I should. This is going to be like the oh my god I hit infinite list. Fudge's list was 2 cards different. Fudge had Legion in over Bishop, and Fudge had what in over Collector? Something. Juggernaut in over Collector, And I think those are the two real differences here. So whatever, I decided I like Bishop and I wanted to play Bishop and Collector. So I tried this version, and this is what I absolutely crushed with. This is also another really, really great win rate, 72% win rate in 42 games, not counting my stats, and I would bet almost anything I'm above a 72% win rate. You can find Fudge at twitch.tv/elephantfudge. This deck needs Galacta, Merlin, Surge, and Kate. Gwenpool and Kahori can be Miz or Captain Marvel. Kahori is incredible in this list. Do not sleep on Kahori. Red Guardian can be Rogue or Juggernaut. Alright, Fudge V2. So Spider-Ham lets you know what you're playing against, lets you know whether you should stay, how you can snap, etc., etc. It's a really, really important information card. I know KM Best in his version of it cut Spider-Ham. I think Spider-Ham is really underrated in mid-range decks right now. Zabu lets you play 4s for 3. That's amazing. If you go Zabu into Surge, you can very often snap, because getting Galactic, Gwenpool, and Kahori for 2 is stupid. But that they fundamentally have the same rule in that way. Collector gets reasonably big here. The ways it gets big are Merlin. If you play it with Merlin, just let's say turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, plus 4 power on Collector. You now have a 2/6. If you also play Hawkeye, you now have a 2/8, and then there's all sorts of just extra little shenanigan ways to buff. Kate and Merlin buff Collector and keep your handful, which is important because you want a Kahori. That Kahori being like 11 or 12 power is a fairly regular thing for this list. Having a bunch of cheap stuff from Merlin and Hawkeye also let you play Bishop, who's often been getting to like 10 or 11 power, which is pretty damn good. Red Guardian helps solve problems, as does Shang-Chi, and then Galacta and Gwenpool are your big power buff cards. Although Kahori is, I'm telling you, just as good as they are in this deck. We thought she'd be as good as Gwenpool. I think this is the list to make it so. So turn 1, Zabu over Ham. Turn 2, Collector is equal to Merlin is equal to Surge. Those are better than Kate. Turn 3, Galacta or Gwenpool, Bishop or a 2. Turn 4, Galacta over Gwenpool, which is equal to Kahori and better than 2/2. If your hand is really, really full, play Kahori. If your hand is not really, really full, play Gwenpool. Turn 5, 4/1 or 3/2. This turn, I really like to use the Merlin spell that puts some of like my Spider-Hams and Zabus back in the deck, so I can just have a really explosive last turn. Turn 6, Red Guardian, Shang Plus, sometimes like Red Guardian or Shang plus Kahori, thanks to the other shenanigans you can do. And then you win the game. This is a like real tempo deck that puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. Give it a try. I think you'll love it, because I definitely did. All right, we only have one more deck. I didn't want to. We had like a million Merlin decks today, so I thought it was stupid, because Merlin's in like 3/4 of the decks right now, to do a Merlin weekend missions. So instead, we're just going to do Morgan Le Fay. I still don't think she's very good, but I do think the best deck from her is one we've already covered from Zenade. The stats agree with me. No one has tried the changes I suggest here. If you don't have Elixir, you should be running Surge in that spot. If you do have Elixir, I think Shuri might want to be Phoenix Force, but the numbers on this are still wild. You can find Zenade once more. We're beginning and ending. He's bookending the video on fire deck building. Twitch.tv/Zenade. Oh, I didn't write the stats. No! Alright, this one has great stats. I don't remember. Oh, no, I did write the stats. They're just in the other section. This needs Morgan, Sage, Cass, Firehair, and Misery. Elixir can be Carnage, Swan, or Surge, and Shuri may want to be Kahori. Shuri may also want to be Peef. Alright. Hood is not your main target to destroy, because you're probably going to bring what you destroy back with Morgan, and getting Hood back with Morgan isn't really useful for you. Hood is here, so on turn 5, sometimes you can just Misery it, or so you can, if you're not going to go the Morgan route, you can Killmonger it off with Firehair and get extra versions of the Hood. It's fine for those things. My hand is all cut up by the cat. Zabu lets us play Shuri and Morgan, which is really nice on the cheap. Being able to go Shuri into Morgan is really nice once in a while, but it's largely for the end of the game, where if you have these cards on the cheap, you can do extra shenanigans. Elixir is played the turn after the destroy, ideally getting back a Sage or Cassandra Nova for a second or third trigger, which means it's a lane winner. Firehair, as you destroy the cards, it gets bigger and bigger. If you're going to destroy Sage and Cassandra Nova, for example, let's say a Venom, so you keep the power, Firehair going Cassandra Nova into Sage is pretty damn nice. Merlin gives you a lot of optionality in the list. It also gives you something to do with Hood, which is pretty nice. Generally speaking, how you'd like to get rid of Hood is usually Merlin, so that you can use Morgan. Cassandra is, again, keyword big here. She's, again, she starts at her normal size, right? But you hit her with Misery, Firehair's out, and all of a sudden you've got 3 triggers. You play Elixir the next turn, and now you've got 4 triggers and these giant cards, which is really cool. Sage does the same basic thing, except she needs to be played in lanes of opponents have guards. Killmonger's really strong into the meta. Victoria Hand's having a bit of a moment, even though I don't think she's that great. And but there's a lot of Batrock. There's a lot of stuff that Killmonger handles while also being a positive offensive weapon for your deck. Venom keeps the power that he eats, so he and Misery are destroys depending on whether you want the extra arm reveals or to keep the power. That's fine. Shuri doubles some of your power. Again, I don't love Shuri here, but she makes enough sense. And then Morgan, sometimes you're not going to do the Fire Hair Elixir thing. You're just going to like destroy a Cassandra, Sage, Zabu, a demon, whatever. And then you're going to Morgan them back and replay them and just be like, look, they're even bigger. And then, and a 4/7 she's decent stats. And we've talked about Misery already and how it hits on reveals. Hitting on reveals good. Oh, see, 68% win rate and 38 games pre-infinite and 68% win rate in 53 games in infinite. Look at that. This one needs Zabu. Turn 1 Zabu over Hood, and make sure Hood doesn't go in your usual destroy pile. You might want to Merlin it away. Turn 2 Firehair over Merlin. Turn 3 Cast Solo if you have Morgan and Elixir, or Shuri or Sage. Turn 4 Misery or Venom. Turn 5 Morgan or Elixir, +3. Turn 6 replay the 1s and Sage. This is, right now, I think the best Morgan deck. There's a few decent ones. We're going to do our top player thoughts on Morgan as either one of two, or just the only video tomorrow, because I know we haven't covered that yet. I'm having trouble finding enough lists to do that whole video. So I don't think Morgan's great. I think she probably needs to be a 3. And I'm curious if then we just up destroy Surfer, but c'est la vie. Question of the day is my microphone journey. So when I started the channel, I had a little microphone I held in my hand. I'm going to go all the way. I had a microphone I held in my hand, and the audio was terrible, and it was extremely uncomfortable because I'd sit there like this the whole video. So eventually I got a mic, and the mic cut out all the time. And I did that for months and months as the channel was growing, and because I'm providing, I think, the best information, honestly. So the channel kept growing, but the mic sucked. So eventually I got a decent mic, and the decent mic kept falling apart. Like, it genuinely just stopped working. So I finally bought a really expensive mic. This really expensive mic was what I've been using for the last bit, and everything was going fine, except that it fell and broke. I was talking to my son and my wife right before a big stream last Friday, I want to say it was, and the mic fell, and it made a weird noise. That was the end of that. Right before the big sponsored stream, and that was the end of that. The damn thing won't work. It's under warranty, so I'm going to return it. So I immediately run to Best Buy and I buy a Yeti, and I use the Yeti for a few days, and sometimes the Yeti is completely amazing, and sometimes the Yeti gives me sound where I'm completely stuttering and nothing works, and I don't know why, and it drives me completely crazy. I watch a bunch of YouTube videos for days and nothing fixes it, and I made that video like at some absurd hour last night, and then when it didn't work, I was furious. So after work today, I ran to Best Buy. My wife got me the Switch too, so it was not a bad day in any way outside of this one thing. And I had a lovely day with my wife and my son. But I ran to Best Buy and I returned the Yeti, and I bought a Rode Pod mic, which is the mic I had prior to this. What happened with the Rode Pod mic, unfortunately for me, is I bought the non-USB version, and my computer doesn't have a way to plug that damn thing in. So I'm recording this with hopefully audio that's acceptable. I'm doing my very best. Coming tomorrow, today as you're watching this, should be a new mic through Amazon next day delivery with a overhead stand, like the big arm stand that I don't have to even touch. It'll just live there, and then there should never be an audio problem again. Fingers crossed once we get that set up. So that's where we live now with my mic journey. I just needed to vent about that. It's been so frustrating. All I want to do is be able to, like, these videos aren't the most high-tech things, right? I just need my audio to frickin' work. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with honor. Thanks. I want to say thank you to people quickly because this video is absurdly long. Thank you to Bricks to Click, Abigail Kisa, Meditor Burna, Irregardless, LAB, Ink Iron Frostman, Hotta, Never Think, Poker Prime Brian, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Ryan Wrench, this is the old version, Caretix Lee, Quarry, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Parafrost the Goat Seeker, Code, Hallowed, Only Fox, Synth, Derek, Absolute Shannon, Nightmare, Dirty Casual, Mr. Fuffle, Cable, Ginger Prime, Philip Brackwich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the J Zone, The Biz of Black Jeeps 23, Extra C and Skippy G, Jessica Gamble, Mr. Slush, Seth, The King of Pros, The Great Zoo, Werewolf, Kepsi Hodo, Ludicrous, Glam, Colonel Forbin, Rob Subman, M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Stephen, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, Mr. Craig Starry, Matt V, Corey, Corbin, John Q, Jim McHugh, Yes Stout, Ace Sage, One Big Bad, Look for Reals, Cactus Jack, Reapster, BG, Good Pro Joe, Snap Decisions Joe, Dick Carlo, Models Master B, Bickety Boom Bop, Green Goblin, Unibot, Fun 56, The Fuzz Develop, Spectrum Mix, Hoot, Ocularis, Matt H. G. Jamaica Jinx, No Freaking Flex, Nick the Greeky, Cocktick Soul King, Zodrix, The King Canada, Den Man Falcon, Fowler Newman, Jonesy, Two Times, The Great Lord as The Pirate King, Tucker, and of course, Gunny T. The T stands for I'll see you tonight on stream. Much love. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Pray that the audio is acceptable. Peace.